up, SFL Nation? And welcome back to SFL Nights with A.J. Striker. Thank you so much for joining me today or tonight or whenever you decided to hit that play button or turn on that radio dial. Really appreciate it, y'all. And I have my friend back with me, Mr. Isaiah King III, coming to represent Salt Lake City one time. Well, one of many, I should say. How you doing?
Yeah, how are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Glad to have you back as usual. And he will be my co-host for the evening. We'll be going over week nine reviews. We'll have my picks our picks for the semifinals round. And we'll actually have something a little new going on. Isaiah has put together a top 25 rookies for season 17 for, I guess, owners and coaches to look out for. So I think that's pretty dope. And then we're going to have Mike's final mock draft. And we're going to be concluding everything off with my fourth and goal interviews featuring Adams quarterback, Trellis Blankton, Adams cornerback, Don Fletcher, and newly crowned Broadcaster of the Year, Tim Hackett. So it's going to be a fun-filled show, and I can't wait to bring it to you right now. All right. So I chose last week the Adams, Memphis, Lexington, and Madison to win. And I only got one right.
Oh, man.
I don't know what happened, man. You know, it just sometimes it goes down like that. I think that happened to me last week, too. People just want to prove me wrong, I guess.
I guess so.
But first up, we're going to talk about your game, sir, with the Salt Lake City Rustlers taking on the Albuquerque Adams. And Adams won 30-7, and they still remain undefeated for the season. Salt Lake had 220 yards passing, 38 yards rushing, only 258 yards total. Their time of possession was 16 minutes and 59 seconds with only one mistake. The Adams had 358 yards passing, 179 yards rushing, 537 yards total, and their time of possession was 26 minutes, 26 minutes even, and they had 3 turnovers. So, Isaiah, what happened, man?
You know, at the beginning, we were going back and forth. I think the first 2 drives, I don't think they were 3 and outs. I think our first drive, we might have went 3 and out, then they got a first down, and then they went, and then I picked off the ball. Or no, that drive was 3 and out. They punted. We kept going back and forth. I picked it off, and we on offense we just couldn't convert. And then us just keep going 3 and out. They eventually capitalized on it. We kind of held Douglas Brown a lot better than any other team did, but passing wise, since we had to adjust our front, it left the secondary kind of weaker than normal. So in that regard, they capitalized, and their quarterback, I think he threw for like 300 plus. And their receivers, Meyer and Ritters, they took advantage of us focusing on their run game. So
yeah, and then they actually held the ball like 10 minutes longer than you guys did too.
Yeah,
and even though they had 3, and even though they had 3 turnovers, they still did. You know, they just they had a better game. But y'all get to have a rematch, and we'll talk about that very soon.
Yeah.
All right. Player of the game was wide receiver Henry Meyer, you just mentioned, the third. 8 receptions, 195 yards, 2 touchdowns, and went 24.4 yards per catch. Madison Lynx took on the Ottawa Cavalry, and the Cavalry won 24-10. The Lynx had 236 yards passing, 91 yards rushing, for 327 total. Their time of possession was 20 minutes and 59 seconds with 4 turnovers. Cavalry had 265 yards rushing, 265 yards passing, 79 yards rushing for 344 yards total. Their time of possession was 22 minutes, 17 seconds with 2 mistakes. So it looks like Madison lost this game because they weren't playing as tight as they normally would you say?
Yeah, I kind of watched the game, and I was just crossing my fingers for Ottawa to beat Madison. We needed that win. And it just looked like Ottawa just came out there and just produced better. And Madison just kind of, at first the game was kind of close. I think Madison had the lead, and then they just kind of let it slip away gradually over time.
Yeah, I agree. And even though they were kind of even in the yards passing, I think the Lynx had more yards rushing, but it just couldn't really capitalize the way they were supposed to. But the player of the game was halfback Adrian Ellis with 20 attempts, 83 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 reception yards. The San Jose Flight took on the Lexington Miners, and the Flight won the game 45-20, putting up some big numbers here. But the Flight, they had 253 yards passing, 270 yards rushing for 523 total offensive yardage. Man, that's crazy. Their time of possession was 21 minutes, 38 seconds with 1 mistake. The Miners had 266 yards passing, 120 yards rushing for 386 yards total. Their time of possession was 20 minutes, 56 seconds with no mistakes. So, Isaiah, both teams put up some great numbers on both sides of the ball. I mean, this almost looks like a major league game with here. And I think what the difference was the mistakes. Would you say? And the significant yards of rushing for Flight.
I exactly agree with that. I think they had 200 over 200 plus yards over them, and yeah, they beat them in the turnover category as well. So I mean, that'll do it right there. 500 yards. That's an amazing stat right there.
Definitely. And the player of the game was halfback Jimmy Hazards, 25 attempts, 207 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 16 reception yards. And the last game of the evening was Memphis River Runners taking on the Birmingham Fuel, and the Fuel won their first game 20-17. They picked the last game to win it. And to be honest, I know I got this wrong, but I wanted to see them win at least one. Going out like that, I really wanted that far. Memphis had 249 yards passing, 101 yards rushing, with 350 yards total. Their time of possession was 21 minutes, 22 seconds, with 1 turnover. The Fuel had 175 yards passing, 159 yards rushing, 334 yards total. Their time of possession was 58 minutes, 1 second, with 2 turnovers. So what do you think the key was for Birmingham to win this game, besides all the good luck they got thrown their way?
I think if I heard right, they had the ball a significant amount of time longer, and they also beat them in the yard category, and that'll do it. I think they beat them in the turnover category as well. That'll also do it. It's small little keys that will win a football game. So good job by Birmingham to finally get them one.
Yes, the player of the game was wide receiver Oren Darby. 6 receptions, 96 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 16 yards per catch. So that means in the semifinals, which, first of all, let's give a big congratulations to the Salt Lake City Rustlers, the Albuquerque Adams, the San Jose Flights, and the Tacoma Grizzlies for making it to the semifinals rounds. How you feel about that?
I think all the teams are very deserving. I feel bad for the teams that kind of fell short, but it was a heck of a season for a lot of guys on a lot of different teams, and we can just applaud everybody for all the time they put in.
Absolutely. And to those that didn't make it, still had a great season anyway. Don't be discouraged. Don't think that you're not going to get picked up by a team just because you didn't have a great season. You did what you could with what you were given. And I think all of you should be proud of your accomplishments and the fact that you had a chance for 9 weeks to progress your player to make those better. Some of us, like me, we only had 1 game to prove everything. You had 9. So, 8, I should say. But I think y'all are totally dope. I'm glad that I was able to see most of the games, play out in real time instead of having to go back and watch the playback. So I'm proud of all of you. On that note, I do want to mention that I want to have a rookie pre-draft party. So I want to get as many rookies as I can on one show. The most I've done was about 26 people at one time. I want to see if I can top that this season. But I kind of wanted to do like a show dedicated to all the rookies right before the draft, so you guys can do your final pitches to all the teams, see where you're going to go, kind of get to know each other too, like that. So I think it'll be good. And of course, Isaiah, you're definitely welcome.
I definitely will be there.
Sounds good. So I kind of want to throw that out there. So, and that's going to be like maybe 1 week before the draft, I'm thinking, but I'll give y'all more details on that later on. But on June the 16th, Wednesday, 7 and 9 p.m. on SFL's YouTube channel, the Salt Lake City Rustlers will be taking on the Albuquerque Adams. And the Adams are trying to compete for an undefeated season, while the Rustlers are hoping to get a second chance to beat the Adams. Who are you picking?
I gotta take us. Our coaches put on a lot of work. They figured out the run game. So now we're just trying to figure out the rest. I think we will. I think the first game losing set us up to play spoiler in the playoffs. So I'm definitely taking us. Okay.
And in some cases, I've seen it work out just like that. Don't get mad though. I think the Adams I know y'all gonna give them as many problems as you possibly can. I know you're gonna try to pick off as many balls as you possibly can from Trellis, but I think they're gonna win this one, bro. But I promise you, if y'all win, you can come back on the show and give me all types of grief, okay?
I hope we win, just so I can do that.
And then you're gonna bring all the rest of your team too. I already know how y'all work. And then the San Jose Flight will be taking on the Tacoma Grizzlies at 9 p.m. Both of these teams is their first time making it into the playoffs. Congratulations on that. And it should be a great battle to watch. I think I'm going to go with the Flight on this one, though. What about you?
The Grizzlies got them last time, but the Flight, I think I'm going to take them. I think they're playing real well right now. I think I'm going to take the Flight.
Yeah, I mean, and I like this particular game because brothers Jimmy Hazard and Mike Savage are going to be going against each other too. So that's always a fun thing to watch. And it'll be interesting to see what those wide receivers are going to be doing against defense. So I'm really excited to see. But now we're going to move on though to top 25 rookie selections for the season 17 draft. Take it away, Isaiah.
All right, let's start from the top. So, of course, I had to, starting at number 1, I had to go with my man, Douglas Brown. He's always active. He has his own podcast with some guys. And then on top of all that, you just see what he's doing with his guy on the field, 172 carries. This is through before the last week because the stats aren't updated. But 172 carries for 1,333 yards, 19 touchdowns. And then he's averaging like 7.8 yards per carry, which is like 2 yards higher than any other running back. That's absolutely ridiculous. He can catch the ball in the backfield. He makes you change your whole game plan, and that alone makes him the number 1 prospect. I mean, we have a lot of great quarterbacks and stuff, and everybody loves a quarterback receivers, but him at running back, he changes the whole dynamic. So I have to go with Douglas for number 1. Number 2, I have to go with OJ. The quarterbacks, they're 2, 3, and 4. It was kind of like, I have to weigh them out against each other. I went with OJ right here because active. A lot of people, talk about him and like him. But for them in this regard, since they're all kind of fairly active and they're pretty much already close, I went with his production on the field. And what I noticed that separated him from our quarterback, Tommy, who I love very much, and Scar Patterson, who I also love very much, is that he's very efficient. He has a better QBR than both of them, which is 96.9, and he's thrown 10 touchdowns and only 5 interceptions, and they both throw more touchdowns than him, but his ratio is just better. So I went with OJ at 2, along with his build and his activeness. Then I went with Tommy. Same thing. He has a great build. He's very active. A lot of people like him. I talk to him all the time. We're in the same locker room, of course. He's a great guy. He's nice, and he's a great leader. He's been throwing 73.9%. He's thrown 12 touchdowns, and he's built his character to be great, and I presume he'll also be one of those top 5 guys to go in the draft. Then after both of them, I had to take Scar. Everybody likes different quarterbacks, but me personally, I actually really like Scar. He's actually, his rating is 3rd on the list, but he produces, when it comes to touchdowns and yards, he produces the best, and then he's just fairly active as well. And then behind all those quarterbacks, I went ahead and went defense. I went Dante Grimm. To me, he's probably, if not the best defensive player, one of the best defensive players for sure. Dante's always in the chat. He's pretty funny, actually. He created some memes about us, but I never take it too personal. But he he's just a great another member of the league, and he produces every week with his 61 tackles, 8 pass deflections, and he also has recorded a pick. Behind Dante, I went with Leon Thunderman. He is actually a part of Swamp Talk. He's very active. He's always in the chats. He's the 2nd highest rated linebacker build, and he's produced on the field as well. 63 total tackles, 1 sack, 5 tackles for loss, 8 pass deflections, and 1 interception. And then behind him, I went along with another linebacker, Axel Raven. Same thing, all these guys, same thing. And if you're in the top 10, you're pretty active. But Axel, he has created a solid build as well, and he's productive. He's been all over the place for his team. 59 tackles, 1 sack, 5 tackles for loss, and 2 pass deflections. And then from there, I went back to DB. I went to Gerard Brody, the best rated DB in the draft, I believe. He's fairly active. And then everybody, no matter who he lines up against, he pretty much does his thing. 36 tackles. I mean, it's not very much, but I mean, he plays corner, so he's not going to get as many. 4 tackles for loss, which is actually pretty good for a corner. 6 pass deflections, 3 interceptions, and he's forced a fumble. And then from there, I went with a D tackle, which was kind of interesting, but I feel like he belonged in the top 10. I went with Robert Crone. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. But
I believe you are.
He's, to me, he's the best defensive lineman in the draft by far. No offense to any other guys. There's some other guys on this list, and they're great too. But he's very active. I couldn't remember if he has like he wrote something or something like that. He's always active, and then he's production wise, he's been the best defensive lineman, according to 7 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, and he's forced a fumble. And then that was number 9. And then from there, I went to receiver. I was going back and forth, just seeing, what separates them. Only 2 receivers made the whole list, but I had to give it to Kelsey Brown. And the reason I gave it to her is because, you know, her build, I mean, she doesn't talk very much. I mean, she used to kind of, and she's always upgrading, and she's made a great build. But her build is by far just overachieving. 66 catches, 929 yards, 4 touchdowns, 14 yards per catch. I mean, every time the ball's in her face, she's basically catching it. If you go look at the targets to catches ratio, she beats everybody, and she doesn't even have the most targets. So for her to have the most catches and not even have the most targets and still have the most yards and all that, that just separates her. And you know, for any GM or owner, if you're looking to go receiver, I think if you want to bring in somebody that's going to make a difference right now, Kelsey is definitely one that you should be looking at, because she'll help your quarterback out a lot. And then description for the top 10, and then from there, I just went down. I mean, I know a lot of these good folks as well. I went Jimmy Hazard, pretty active, great back. Then I went Garrett Hudson, great production on the field, pretty active as well. Garrett Hudson, I think, might be the number 1 linebacker in production. Justin Reside, great ball hawk, great safety overall, always in the chats, always active, does whatever he can to help his team. You know, great guy. Nate Ritters, that's the other receiver, another good receiver. Number 1 in yards per catch, over 25 catches. He's number 1. You know, there's not a lot of receivers that talk a lot, but you know, you can tell they're upgrading. You can tell they're active because they have such great builds that are progressed so high. So, and then from there, I had to get a big fella in there, O lineman. I'm probably gonna say this wrong, but Perrin Abara. If I said that wrong, Perrin, please tell me how to say it. But
listen, I do the same thing.
Perrin's build is pretty good. I checked the chats and pretty active as well. So the activity to build ratio separated Perrin from most of the other O linemen. And then from there, I went Harry Husky. Not as active, but the build for Harry you can tell he's had pretty active and upgrades every week, because the build for Harry is pretty great. Cody Griffin, another very active DB who has a great build, who talks in the chats, whose player produces every week. I mean, another great build right there. Bailey, another great back. I mean, I chose Douglas, I chose Jimmy, then I had to go Bailey, because Bailey always in the chats, active, you know, friendly, around. When we played them, you know, produced, did what had to do to, you know, help out the team. So I had to put Bailey at 18. And then from there, I went Nathan Fury. Fury also is always in the chats. For the O-lineman, it's kind of tricky because you can't really go off of stats or anything like that. So I went Nathan based off of, again, build and how active Nathan is. And Nathan's pretty active, so I went him for that one. And then I went Chance Wall, the defensive tackle. Chance, when I checked the chats, I'm pretty sure Chance is fairly active as well. Behind Robert, Chance is also a high production defensive tackle. So that's what helped him land in the top 20. So if you're looking to go D-line, that's another person that, you should definitely give a look or two at DM and add to your board. Then I went Jim Copeland Jr. Jim's very active. Besides Polytruth, probably the most active tight end. But between Polytruth and Jim, I think Jim has a better build, and Jim also is the best tight end pass catcher that I've seen. So that's what landed Jim at 21 between the activity and the production. Josh Rowe, haven't really seen Josh Rowe around very much, but Josh Rowe's build, I just know from talking to some certain people, they really like the build and they really think highly of Josh. So I went ahead and added Josh Rowe to the later of the 25 because Josh's build it's so great that I had to put him in. So I think he's the highest rated safety, I believe. And then I went Frank Stackhouse. That was the last defensive lineman. Frank was, I think, either second or third in sacks. The best defensive end that I've seen, and fairly active as well. But if you're looking to go D-line, you should check out Frank and Frank's build. Then I went with one of my teammates, Terrell Sutherland, the best fullback. Terrell's he's always on. He's always around. If you just want to talk, any questions. Terrell's been around for a long time, be a team player. So Terrell is just, he belongs in the top 25. And then last but not least, I went Polytruth, another active, tight end. Like I said earlier, the only thing that separates him and Jim is Jim's build is a little bit more progressed, but Poly's active. He's committed to helping his team and, doing whatever it takes and being around friendly person and, great tight end. So that concludes my top 25. If you have any comments or you want to shoot me a DM about what you think about it, feel free. I love to talk about it. It's obviously not perfect, but I just did my best. It's my first one, and my next one will be better, I promise.
Hey, pretty good job. Now, I noticed that you weren't on there. I guess that shows the kind of selflessness that you had to not include yourself.
Yeah, I couldn't put myself on there because honestly, I don't know where to put myself in there. Like, there's certain aspects of me and my build that I'll put, higher, but then there's certain aspects that I would put lower. So, to avoid any bias or, the confusion, it's easier just leave yourself off and just do it as just like a scout and not, have yourself as a player. You know what I mean? So
I do, but I can tell you that Mike Twin Screw put you as number one safety. So I gotta say something.
Yeah. I once I finally got up there, I had to remain at the top. I let Mike determine where I sit. I'll just leave myself out of it.
All right. So just for people that want to know, how did you come up with this list? What criteria were you specifically looking at? And how could someone get on your list henceforth?
So basically, the top 10 was probably the easiest part, because you can just look around and see, who's very active and, whose builds are progressed and producing. A lot of people kind of do it more so off of activity and stuff like that. But what I've noticed from like DMs and stuff like that, yeah, GMs love, active people as well. But, they love active people who also kind of have progressed and, have their player going in the right direction. So I didn't just do it, based off of one or the other. I did it with basically off of a combination. For the people that, didn't make the list, just keep being active and just keep, progressing your player. And, if you just join, you'll probably, if you don't get drafted, if your build doesn't get drafted and you're back in the SFLm, that you're definitely probably going to be on it next year. As long as you just got to keep being persistent, be active, talk to GMs, keep progressing, try not to miss a progression. Try to, get on podcasts. I've been on this one. I've been on Lozano's.
Inside the league.
Yeah. And then, and then I have been on, Swamp Talk. So, just try to, get yourself out there and talk and be around, and then just, progress your player. Ask questions about how to make your player the best you can make it. Cause, I'm going off of both. So since the fact that I'm going off of both, I'm going to do good players who are active, or the best players who are active. So, I mean, you be the best player you can be, and then just be active, and you'll see yourself in the top 25 easily.
Okay, good advice. And I will say that you did have a point. When GMs and owners are looking at players, some of them are looking at the player builds themselves and how they have progressed and how they are on the field. But then you have other people, kind of like Arizona, where we will look at that, but we're much more interested in how you're going to interact with people, how you're going to come into the locker room, what type of personality do you have? And that could be shown, like you said, with the talking and just getting to know people. So it's different methods of doing it. As long as people know who you are, you shouldn't have a problem with that. And there's nothing wrong with having to go back and play another season in the SFLm, because the people that were returning from last season are the ones that are putting up big numbers. A lot of them are. Not all of them, but a lot of them are. So you'll be able to see yourself progress either by getting drafted, or by next season when the minors are around, then you'll be able to see how well the progressions that you did before will help change you. So, but good job, man. I know it took a lot of thought to actually put this together and give reasons why for everybody. So kudos to you for doing that. And that's probably why, again, you're number one on this next mock draft that I'm going to be speaking of. Because of how you have been putting yourself out there and you've been trying to contribute and things like that. So congratulations to you, man.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And up next, I have Mike 10 Screws final mock draft for season 3 coming right up. All right, SFL Nation, and we are back with Mike 10 Screws final mock draft. Now, you did hear a little bit from Isaiah King and his thoughts about the mock draft and everything, like his own mock draft. So here is Mike 10 Screws, and this is his final one. So in the quarterback position, ending things off, Joseph Green is number 1, Tommy Utah number 2, Scar Patterson number 3, followed by OJ Bruin, Dave Bird, Trellis Blankton, Eric Price, Johnny Reno, and Gene Struthers. From the running back category, we have Douglas Brown with Bailey O'Shaughnessy, Brad Jones, Jimmy Hazards, and GP Wells are rounding off that 1 through 5 position, followed by Brooke Basil, Randy Squarebush, Trey Finnick, and Adrian Ellis. Fullbacks, we have Aaron Alexander with Terrell Sutherland, number 2, Hantoro Hanzo, number 3, and Chris Brighton, number 4. With the wide receivers, we have number 1, Nate Ritters, with Shane Kaufman following up at number 2, and Justice Blackwell at number 3. We have David Gears at number 4, with Ryan Roosevelt, number 5, Kelsey Brown, number 6, Yusef Stanova at number 7, Mike Churchill, Mike Savage at 8 and 9, with Nick Lockett at number 10. Followed by Israel Adams, Doug Spelling, Henry Myers III, Josh Stiles, Ace Sharp,
Logan Strange, Zachary Patton, and Oregon Darby. Thank you, Oren, for actually helping me to correct your name. I really appreciate that. Tight end positions. Number 1, Jimmy Copeland Jr., followed by Paulie Truth, is sitting at 1-2, and Tylon Steele is at number 3. Followed by Caesar Eckerman holding on to that 4th position with Bill Henry rounding off at number 5. Followed by Rupert Westcloud, Eric Catcham, still love your name, Eric, Anthony Delano, and Yaren Hammer. O-line would include number 1, Perrin Abara, again, forgive me, Nathan Fury. Aiden Bleeker is 1-3. And then we follow by Johnny Van Man, Patrick Kelly, which was someone that I actually brought into the league. And Patrick, thank you for joining. Brian Finnick and Mitchell Withers. Defensive end, number 1 would be John Laley, followed by Brogan Spirall, Frank Stackhouse, and Matthew Horford, 1-4. Then we have John Swift, Mike Bolte, Morgan Mills, Marcus Sledge, and Julius Maximuth rounding everything off for the defensive end position. Defensive tackle would include Robert Corin, Chance Wall, Isaac Forrester, T.C. Turner, and Tigger Santa at 1-5 positions. Number 1 linebacker is Leon Thunderman, followed by Axel Raven with Stephon Forge, Garrett Hudson, and Stephen Black rounding everything off at the 1-5 positions. Then we have David Ware, Miles Gibson, Earl Field the 5th, Taz Blackwell, the 4th, Taz Blackwell, Bogey Barr, Derek Williams, John Martin, Zed Markoff, Philadelphia Collins, Yukov Zolotov, Kay Shine, Josh Slap, Deacon Rurukin, Zeus Howard, Jaleel Usman, Luchin Corvin, and Nathaniel Diggs rounding everything off. In the cornerback position, number 1 cornerback will be Cody Griffin, followed by Jahar Brody, with Jay Roth following at a nice 3rd. We have Don Fletcher, one of our guests for tonight, sitting at number 4, with Laquan Smith at number 5. Then rounding everything off will be Terrence Pearson, Daniel Valentine, Jermaine Minifield, Stuart Zomella, Xavier Hawkins, Ty Woodson, Roy Vance, Daryl Bullock, Josh Ramses, and adding to the cornerback position board, first time on the charts, would be Devontae Duncan. Welcome. Free safeties would include number 1, Isaiah King, which is our co-host for this week. Isaiah King III, followed by Justin Resides and Daniel Wright, sitting at numbers 1-3. Then we have Josh Rowe at number 4, Jerry D. Gahn at number 5, Ronnie Renfro, Kenny Miller, Michael Lister, Deshaun Evans, Amari Rari, and Cyrus Jive, rounding out everything off for the free safety positions. Strong safety, we have Dante Grimm at number 1, Isabella Blackwell at number 2. We have Bryant James at number 3, followed by Frankie Cluster, Nana Leah, Adrian Blaine, Kenny Slider, Mike Jones, Harry Husky, Danny Scaladritz, forgive me if I mispronounced that, Terrence Weary, and Robert Ivory are rounding up the strong safety positions, and kicker, punter, Dane Morrow, Paul T. Patois, Sonny J, and Chance Torwin. So, congratulations everybody. These are Mike Tinscrew's final additions to the draft, his mock draft board. And like I said, he does keep up with everybody's chat ranking. He keeps up. I'm not sure if he keeps up with every progression, but I know he keeps up with the chats. He keeps up with all of that, whether you're in game chats, how well you communicate with the community and things like that. And those decisions make his decisions. So if you want to know more information about the league, please visit us at www.simulationfl.net. You can join our Discord through there. You can get a call from the commissioner, read up on articles, get direct links to some of our podcasts like this one, or Dave Axe's, or Nelson Lozano, Inside the League with Nelson Lozano. So we have a lot, and Coach Craven's, Coach's Corner with Coach Craven. So we have a lot of good stuff for you. And I'm hoping that you're taking advantage of it. Rookies, congratulations. I cannot wait to see where you guys go in the draft. And before the draft, I'm thinking maybe a week or two before, I want to have as many rookies that wants to be on my podcast at one time so that we can kind of do your plea to the teams. Why should people draft you? Why should you be taken on anyone's draft board? So I think that's going to be fun. Everybody gets to kind of, shoot their shot, see where you land. All right. Next up, my 4th and goal interviews. Coming right up.
What is up, SFL Nation? And we are back with our 4th and goal interview. My first guest is Mr. Don Fletcher, cornerback for the Albuquerque Adams. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for asking. Man. It looks like y'all in a really good spot. You're number 1 in SFLm right now.
Yes, it's been a good season so far. I hope we could finish undefeated.
Absolutely. Hey, that'll be dope, because you can't lose any games now. You always gonna lose. You gotta lose through the season, because if you lose, you're out. But there's been a lot of talk saying that the Albuquerques was going to do a repeat. So, y'all have exactly what it takes to do it. But Don, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Tell us your age, your hometown, some interesting facts about yourself, and your favorite NFL team.
All right. So my name is Dante. I'm 21. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. My favorite football team is the New Orleans Saints.
I'm a Falcons fan, so you know how that is. I'm a Falcons and a Bears fan, so.
Yeah, people usually think I'm probably like a New York Giants fan, but I don't really like the Jets or the Giants. So
I feel you. And what are some interesting facts about yourself?
All right, so I play basketball and football. I'm actually in my 2nd year of college.
Okay.
Yes, I work for a home care agency taking care of my mother.
Very good.
I'm also in a wrestling center.
Oh, really?
Yes, with Nighthawks and the rest of the community.
Fantastic, man. So it sounds like you're doing a lot with your time then.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, this is a good place to be. Tell us, how did you find out about the SFL in the first place?
I found out from my friend and the community Nighthawks. And one day we was all in a voice chat, and they was talking about the league. And I asked them if I could join, and they was like, yeah. So they sent me the invite, and from that day on, I signed up, I joined, I waited for the commissioner to put me on the team, and that next day I was on the team and I was working with Great Arms by Albuquerque.
And like I said, you got to a championship team, man. Looks like y'all on that same path and doing the same thing, and that's a pretty good thing.
It definitely is.
Now, I'm not seeing the stats from last game. They probably haven't been posted yet. But the game before, you all were playing. Let's see, who were you playing against?
I think we played
Memphis River.
Yes.
And it seems like y'all, they was right hot on your trail, man. But you were able to get 3 tackles and 1 assist, which is pretty good, Were you able to pick up any pass deflections or interceptions or anything like that yet?
Yes, I have 1 interception against Madison.
Nice.
I actually had a few pass deflections last game against Salt Lake City. I had a pass deflected during that game. And I had a few during the middle of the season. I can't recall which game.
Oh, okay. Hey, listen, as long as you're making an impact, you're making a difference, I know that means a lot to you seeing your player on the field doing that. But tell me, have you actually played sports yourself? Like, have you played football or anything like that?
Yes, I actually played basketball and football.
Okay.
I played basketball in high school. I played center.
Okay.
And for football, I played defensive tackle.
All right, sounds good. So you was very active back then. So which one was your favorite to play?
It was close, but I leaned more towards basketball.
Okay.
Because everybody in my family played basketball.
Gotcha. Makes sense. So tell me, how excited are you for this draft coming up?
I'm very excited, and then I'm kind of nervous.
Yeah.
Because, like, I know I put everything I do on the field, but then I also know that not every team needs a cornerback. But like, I don't want to get my hopes up and lead people to think I'm gonna get drafted, then I might not get drafted and have to stay down in a minus for another season.
And that's a good way to look at it. You don't get too high about things. You don't get too low about it. Would you be willing to play another position, though? Let's say if a team does not need a cornerback, but they're willing to hire you at another position. Would you be willing to do that?
Yes, I will be willing to do that. Whatever the team needs, I'll play that position. I'm more of a team player. So whatever the team needs me, I'll fill in that position.
Awesome. So were you planning on being involved in the league in any other aspect, like content creator, or perhaps like writing for the beat writing team, or maybe you want to do stats, or maybe you want to scout for your future team?
I was thinking maybe if, like, once I really settle in, I could probably become like a scout.
Okay.
Since I know a lot about football, and when I could probably, get the game and look over everything.
That's the first thing you want to do is get the game and get the editor so that you can see what the coaches see and be able to, once you learn all those, and now it's like over 6,000 plays, but I'm sure since you play football, you're able to recognize different formations. Probably some are going to be similar from when you were playing, things like that. So it should be a little bit easier for you because you have that experience.
Yes.
But as soon as you can get the game and get started on practice, you'll be a lot more valuable than someone that's just going to, kind of sit on the sidelines and just watch the player play. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with just wanting to be a player by any means. But if you can show your team that you're willing to do a little bit more and that you're willing to stay active, even during the off season, that could definitely add to your draft stock. So just little words of wisdom, kind of.
Yeah, definitely. I seen one of my defensive coordinators. I know he's a scout, so I'll probably talk to him. Yeah. And get a few pointers on everything.
Absolutely. And I would encourage any rookie to talk to everybody. Like when I was a rookie, and I think I've told this story a million times, but when I came in the league, everybody knew who Ashley Jackson was because I was going to talk to you. I was going to talk in general chat. We had general chat too back then, back in the day. That was, I forget what we actually called it. I think it was called SFL chat or something like that. We had a few different chat rooms, and I was in all of them. I was talking to every owner. I was talking to every GM, even not just trying to be on the team per se, but asking them how they enjoyed the league, little things like that. And it makes a difference when people know you and they can see that you're trying, they see that you're out there and that you're going to be a part of the league for a while, then they'll definitely show interest in you. But the draft is going to be a wonderful experience for all of you. To hear your name called, most people in their lifetime won't be able to participate in a real draft like that. So this gives you that feeling of what it would be like to sit and wait for your name to be called, and get that call from the GM or the owner saying that you're going to be on their team and stuff like that. So it's going to be pretty dope.
Yeah, well, I actually watched the draft from last season.
Right.
It was pretty amazing. I can't lie.
It sure is, definitely. So tell me, what type of person will someone, or a team, I should say, will be adding to their locker room? What type of person are you, like personality-wise?
I'm a very energetic person in the locker room. I like to hype my teammates up, whether they're in a bad mood or feeling down. I feel like I could pick them up with the type of words I say.
Okay, and that's very important too. Especially when you have those losses and things like that. Not that you know what that feels like right now. But in that sense, how do you handle that? How do you handle the trash talk and adversity that sometimes comes with playing sports, esports, or real sports?
Sometimes I just laugh at it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's no really real reason to get upset at trash talking. Because, like, it's trash talk. You talk back. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I feel like...
Unless it's getting, maybe like it's getting too personal or something like that, then I can understand. But yeah, it's all in fun. It's all in fun. And I think you're all adults. You should be able to express yourself freely and respectfully as well. So
yes, I definitely agree with that.
Absolutely.
I feel like if it gets to like a personal level, I feel like if we could talk it on the DM. We don't have to let everybody see it. But we could do it personally aside and talk it up. Because I feel like it should never get to that point.
Hold on 1 second, Lovey. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. All right. So, tell us just a couple more questions for you. What are your expectations from the team that drafts? Like, what do you want them to be able to do for you?
I feel like they should be able to lead me to the right path. I just mold my player into which how they want me to play and how I feel like I should be able to play.
Okay.
Like I'm not expecting for them to make me like the best cornerback or what position they need me to be in the league, but like there's steps to get there, and I hope they can bring me to that point to where I can make a big impact on the field for them.
Absolutely. Now, with your current progressions, are you doing them by yourself, or is Coach Williams, well, both Coach Williams is helping you out with that?
They're helping me out with that.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important for it to be a combination of the player and the coach. Because this is a product that you're paying for. Your player is somebody that you want to see progress, but you also have to take the team into account and be able to kind of balance what's needed for the team, but also be able to make you happy as a paying customer, pretty much. So I think that's good as long as the lines of communication are open and you guys are both letting each other know what you need and what you want and what the expectations are. You should be good to go.
Yeah, we talk often.
Absolutely.
I usually talk to Marco sometimes. Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about it, and he helped me. He guides me to the right path. Actually, when I first got put onto Albuquerque, Marco was the first one to hit me up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was like, he wanted to help me and guide me into the right position, like he did last season. So I was actually thankful for that, because if I didn't have the type of support system in Albuquerque, I wouldn't know what to do.
Definitely, I definitely understand, man. and it could be a little daunting, you know, at first when you're first joining and everything, but no one should be afraid to ask questions. If you don't understand something, don't feel like, hey, why can't I understand it? Just ask somebody who'll be more than willing to help you. Whether you're owner, coach, fellow player, whatever, we got you. So, but last question for you is, how did you handle COVID? How did you handle the COVID situation? Were you going crazy a little bit, you know, just being stuck in the house, or like, what was COVID like for you specifically?
COVID was tough because I didn't have a job at the time because everything closed down. But since I'm doing a home care agency now and taking care of my mother, it brought me in some type of money. I was also playing. I played in a lot of basketball leagues. Like I was on a video game a lot, so it kept me busy. So I really wasn't like going crazy or anything. I felt like me being productive and active in the house, it kept me calm. I didn't go outside or like I just did things that I know is in the house worthy.
Right.
Yeah, cause I don't want to put my mother in the type of situation to where if I go outside and catch it, I have to come home and have to worry about
her. Absolutely. And that was probably the most responsible thing to do too, because at this point you have to think about the others that you're going to constantly be around, and not just yourself too. So that was selfless of you to do, and you know, you guys remained healthy from doing that. So, and I'm glad that you're actually able to make an income now, because I know that was kind of tough, man, not being able to find something during that time. You got bills piling up and all of that, so that was good, man. That was good.
Yeah.
All right. Now I did lie a little bit when I said that was going to be the last question. I don't know. I always and I always got like one more. But where do you see yourself this time on June 12th of 2022? What goals for your player and for yourself would you like to see accomplished?
Well, for my player, I hope you can just catch him interceptions. That's one thing to real, because like he could catch him, but there be certain times to where he'll be in the right position, but he'll just drop the ball. So like that's one thing I want to work on. I hope he could catch more, and that's for myself. I feel like I think the one thing I want to work on is maybe reaching out more. I haven't really reached out to anyone since I joined.
Okay.
So I feel like if I reach out, I could get my name more out there.
Absolutely. And doing these type of shows too. You know, people watch these shows all the time. So,
yeah.
One second. All right, so yeah, it's very important for you to get your name and stuff out there. You know, name and personalities and things like that out there. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. You know, because when it does come down to the draft, they will look at not only your performance on the field, but how active you were in the community, how you put yourself out there. So definitely doing these shows, things like that, talking to people helps. Okay?
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely will. Because at first I was nervous, because like I'm not really like a big talker, so it's like especially with my voice, because I get kind of nervous.
Yeah.
And sometimes I freeze up, so it's like I don't know if I should do it or not.
Nah,
Like I was
Sometimes.
like I was gonna reach out to you one day,
Mm-hmm.
and I froze up real bad. I was like, I don't know, because I'm not really good with the talking, or with the voice and everything. And
You sound fine to me. It's just, I always tell people, it's just like two friends having a conversation. You know, just sitting down having a nice talk with each other. It's not something I'm going to be asking you questions that's going to stomp you or make you feel uncomfortable or anything like that, because it is about just getting to know you. So now, don't feel like you got to be apprehensive about reaching out to me. You know, things like that, because I can help you as well as others can help you as well. So you're in a good community for that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. So if you need any more assistance with anything, if you have any more questions, Dante, just reach out. I'm here for you, okay?
Okay, I will.
All right, brother. Well, thank you again for being on the show. I really appreciate you stopping by. I do want to take the time out to let all the rookies know that I will be having a big rookie show, like kind of right before the draft. So you guys can give your last kind of reasons why people should add you to their draft boards or add you to their locker rooms, things like that. So you are invited to come back, Don. I'm going to see if I can get as many rookies on one show as possible. I think the most I've ever gotten on one show was like about 26. So it should be great. It should be great.
Yeah, I'll definitely come back for that. Definitely.
Sounds good. But before I say goodbye, I have to give you the last word. So that could be a song, that can be a poem, or just a simple shout out. But right now, Don, the floor is yours.
I'm gonna say thank you for having me on your show. I wanna shout out Albuquerque for welcoming me with great arms and this great season that we having. I also want to shout out Nighthawks and everybody in his community for bringing me here with such a great community in the SFL. And I hope everyone have a great rest of their season.
All right, fantastic. I hope you do too, and see how far y'all can go. Will you be the repeating champions? We'll see. Y'all definitely on the right path though.
You definitely are. Thanks.
You're welcome. Nice to meet you. Again, come back whenever you want to.
Thank you. I will.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody, and welcome back to the second part of my Fourth and Goal interview. Tonight's guest is Mr. Trellis Blankton, quarterback of the Albuquerque Adams. So it just seems like the Albuquerque Adams just decided to just bum rush my show. I don't know what to do with y'all sometimes.
So glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you back. It's funny, you mentioned off air that I had you at the beginning of the season before you started, and now at the end with you being a part of an undefeated team. So how does that feel?
Well, it feels pretty awesome, actually. It feels great to be the first franchise team in the minors to go undefeated. And I am just, humbled to be a part of that awesome accomplishment that the Albuquerque Adams have allowed us to accomplish. So.
Absolutely. Y'all deserve it. Played some really, really tough teams out there. And there was a couple moments where I thought that you guys were going to lose, because everything was so close. Like, I think it was Memphis.
Yeah, when they threw that last pass. Oh, my goodness. And it was just, oh, Lord. That was scary.
Oh,
but
man.
When he tackled him, I screamed really loud.
That was a great game. That really felt like a championship game. I was mentioning that on the show last week. It was great. It was great.
Yes, it was.
So, how has things changed for you since we first talked? Because you were just getting acclimated with the league. You hadn't had too many, touches on the ball as of yet. to actually getting to this point at the end of the season where you guys are number 1 seed. Tell us about that journey.
Well, it started out really, really nice. I can remember my first 2 games right off the bat. I threw first game two touchdowns, 3 interceptions. The next game 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Had over 300 yards passing. I thought I was just a bomb. Then all of a sudden, it just kind of dwindled toward the middle of the season. Thank goodness I had Douglas Brown. That is a beast of a running back. I cannot give. I mean, he is just absolutely amazing. And thanks to Nate Ritters and Paulie and Myers and all them, they were a great wide receiver crew. So if it wasn't for that in this last game, I don't know where we would be at. So we would have definitely lost if we didn't have our wide receiver crew. They let me throw the ball, and I threw it.
That's right. If you're gonna be a quarterback, you need to throw the ball. Whether you get the interceptions or not, you got a job to do. That's to get that ball out there, and you did a great job of doing that. Despite the interceptions and everything, because that comes with it. Trust me, I know.
Yeah, I know, right? I would love to go positive in the touchdown ratio with interceptions, but it just doesn't seem like that's possible in this league.
It is about progressions that you make, and it also has to do with the team build itself. So when you are placed with one of the teams, you get drafted as a quarterback, coaches will definitely work with you and getting like your pass accuracy up. Also working with your wide receiver core, working with your tight end core, just to make sure that all of you are able to kind of connect up together. So let's say the bronze bomber, Matt Wilson. He often stays a bronze player because if he's passing to players that are silver and passing to players that are gold, he's more likely to make his passes because they are so good. Now, on the other hand, if you are a gold quarterback and all of your team is bronze, you're going to have some misses. You're going to have some off targets because they're not hitting those routes in the way they're supposed to at the moment. So all of that's going to work out in the wash. You had a good 9 weeks to progress, more than that. But you go into the playoff games, 9 weeks of progression. You're definitely in a better state than what we started out with.
Mm-hmm.
That's what, it's better. Progression is way more better than it was when we first started. I had 4 weeks before the season started that we were able to progress. So I've actually had like 13 weeks to progress.
Mm-hmm.
So for the playoffs. So yeah, that's way better than what I was when I first started.
Absolutely. So baby steps.
Thanks to the coaches, by the way. Thanks to the coaches.
Absolutely.
They're the ones that made it possible.
The coaching staff over in Albuquerque has done wonders with that team, even to get back to this point to where you could possibly win another championship. That'd be 2 in a row. Okay. I like the confidence. Hey, we're gonna win. There ain't no possible.
Yeah, there ain't no possibility. It's just gonna happen.
I love it. You speak it into existence. And just so you know, I don't know if you missed the notation, but I think I told Joshua Williams about this. But if you guys win, or whoever wins the SFLm championship, I'm going to treat you just like I did Denver, kind of let you take over my podcast. It'll be all about you, telling us about your experiences, what your aspirations are as a team, as a unit, all of that good stuff. So it's just going to be about you. So the winning team of the championship will take over my podcast. So be ready for that.
Looks like we're already taking over now. So,
You got a head start on that, huh?
Yeah, we're going to get a double dosage of it. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, Don was just on. So
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So, in regards to your personal life, is everything changing for the better for you? Getting a little bit better?
Yeah, things are getting better. I start school in a little over a week. So,
okay.
Yeah, that's something I decided that I would dip myself into, see what's going, see how I do in there. So that's what I've been doing mainly, is getting ready for school and participating in this league and some other leagues.
Nice. Well, that's good, man. If you don't mind me asking, just remind us, what are you studying?
I'm going to get a bachelor's in science for business administration. I was going to do criminal psychology,
right?
But unfortunately, the school that I'm going through does not have the required courses for that. And so I went with my second best interest in what I wanted to do. So I thought, well, I could either be a nursing home director or a athletic director.
Okay. Both of those are very good.
That's one of the two roles that I want to go toward. Either which way, I told myself my goal is, in the next 7 years, I hope to be making 3 digits.
Okay. Fantastic. And of course, you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to do that.
Oh, yeah.
I believe in you.
I believe in myself, too. That's what it takes. You got to believe in yourself.
Absolutely, because nobody can make you do anything. You have to make yourself do it. So have you given any thought as to if you were not picked up as a quarterback, which we do have a lot of openings, so I'm not saying that's going to be the case by any means. Have you thought about if you would be willing to switch over to another position, or would you be willing to do another round of SFLM?
Probably be willing to do another round of SFLM.
Okay.
I enjoy the SFLM, to be honest with you, especially the randoms. I love it, and it's not just because they're winning. Yeah, I enjoyed being a part of it before we even started winning, because we have great coaches, great atmosphere, everybody's progressing. It's always a nice locker room to have, a group of people to have. So I know we won't probably have the same crew going into next year, but it'll carry on with the new people that we get. So
exactly.
And if I get picked up, if I get drafted, then that's amazing. For a first-year quarterback to be drafted into the pros, I'm more than ecstatic for that to happen.
Exactly. And I was just telling Don that I want to have a really big podcast where I invite whatever rookie wants to be on at that podcast. I can have anywhere from 25 to 100 people with the package that I bought for Zoom. So if I have 100 rookies that want to come on and to state their claim as to why they should be chosen, I'll be more than happy to have that. But I do kind of like to do like a kind of a rookie podcast party before the draft, to kind of get you guys psyched up and everything. So I invite you to come and tell everybody in the locker room, just in case they don't get a chance to see this, which I'm sure they will. But if they don't, then just let everybody know, like, hey, party at Ashley's.
Oh yeah. All right, that's what I'm talking about.
Yes, we're gonna have a pre-draft party, and I want to get as many people on that wants to be on, so it's gonna be pretty good. But
you need to get a hold of Morrow, our kicker, our rookie kicker. I'm sure he would be ecstatic to be somebody to be interviewed.
Yes, please. I'll reach out to him. He can reach out to me, whichever one. I will talk to any and everybody. So you're good to go.
I think he'd be a great person to have an interview with. He's very ecstatic about being a kicker and kicking our field goals, making our points. He likes to contribute in any way possible. So we don't want to forget about him.
No, you don't. What do you think? Let me see. What do you think the one takeaway would be from this season? I know that it's not over for you all, but if the season ended for you right now, what have you learned as a quarterback, and even just being in the SFLN?
I learned that being a quarterback is definitely a lot more stressful than I thought it would be. Trying to keep up the positive, because you're watching your player play and you're like, oh my God, don't do that. Why are you doing that? And it's just you gotta learn to hold your nerves. You know what I'm saying? But it's also taught a lot of being humble and looking out for others and not being so selfish, and being more of a team person more than a one person only. One thing that I've learned about being an SFLm has really taught me how to be more of myself, to be more of myself. That's basically all I can say. It's because of my disability, I thought I'd be treated different, et cetera, et cetera. That's not the case. And that's absolutely one of the things that I came into here thinking that people would feel sorry, and I was like, I don't want that, but I haven't got that, and I'm absolutely excited that I haven't got that. I've been treated like a normal person, and I'm able to communicate with people on here just as good as I'm being able to communicate with you live.
Right.
So compared to the beginning of the season, I didn't really talk to much of anybody. Now I talk to a whole group of people from all over. So yeah, it's absolutely. I made a lot of friends doing that.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I do love this community too, because it's not every esports community or even being online that you'd be able to find a place right there like this, that you can be yourself, come as you are, and still be accepted. Like with you and your disability, me being a woman.
Right.
Definitely be looked at, oh my gosh, what is she doing here? I think I said this on another podcast that I was on with Cam and Mike St. Green. I was a little apprehensive to join at first because it is a male-dominated sport and it's a male-dominated league. And I'm like, would I be accepted? Would they look down on me because I'm a woman? And that is not the case.
That's something else. There's another young lady that I ran into. Her name is Ty White. I don't know if you ever heard of her, but she's in another league of mine that we're in, and she's the only female in the basketball league. And the way she absorbs it, and the way she just takes it, just one of the guys. You know what I'm saying? Just be one of the guys.
Right.
And I look up to that. Don't let nobody tell you can't do something. You're just as equal as anybody else is.
Absolutely. And I think it's just about, finding something that you love to do too. Like I do love sports and I enjoy watching sports. Wasn't necessarily coordinated enough to do any, but I can, be myself, at least live that out on the field, which is important. But yeah, I think it's the world is going through so much right now. To find a place that's inclusive of everybody, doesn't matter what you got going on, just come on in and we'll still treat you like family. I think that's very important. And as I was telling Tim Hackett, who was going to be on the show, I told him that when you have a place like this, you can retire your player. You can think that, hey, I'm going to leave the SFL, I'm just going to go elsewhere. But then you think about the relationships that you built. And I think ultimately, you can go play an esport anywhere else, but the relationships that you build here are what keep you here.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Right. And if you don't want to be a player anymore, so there's some people that are not players that are still just hanging around because it's just a great place to be. So I'm glad that you found us, Trellis. I'm glad that you're still here and that you are excelling. I do wish you the best of luck in your upcoming games.
Oh yeah.
And since y'all gonna win it, since you said y'all gonna win it, then make sure that your entire team is on my podcast, okay?
Oh, definitely. We're gonna have that happen. Don't worry about that. you just give me a time and a day, and I'll make sure they're all there.
Okay, sounds good. We can do it on the weekends or on Mondays. We're good to go. But we will work out the details once y'all actually slide that ring on, okay?
Oh, we slide the ring on. We slide the ring on.
Awesome. Well, before I let you go, I was wondering, is there any other advice that you want to give to the new rookies that are coming into the league? They're just getting started, or is there any message that you want to give to any of the future teams that you're going to be on?
Well, I'll do both, actually.
Okay.
Coming from the people that are going to be new, it is an experience that you really will not get anywhere else. You are going to come into a league that people are going to welcome you. They're still going to give you hard times about, your position and the teams you're on. It's just the part about being in sports, the rivalries and whatnot. That's real in this, the sport right here. And at the end of the day, you're still you. You still got people that will be there for you. It's not just a sport league. It's really like a family, because anytime you need something, there are people that are there for you at any time. For the upcoming draft, I know that possibly I could be drafted in there, and I just want to say that I will excel on the field, but I also want to excel inside the organization as well. I want to be able to do stuff inside the organization to help the organization become even more better. I hate saying it that way, but excel to a whole new set of goals that we can accomplish, and I want to be a part of that. So that's pretty much all I have to say. I appreciate you having me on the show. You're absolutely amazing. You got a beautiful smile, But
Thank you, Trellis.
I appreciate you having me.
Anytime. I told you can come back whenever you want, and it's always a pleasure to be able to talk to anybody, especially the rookies though, because you guys are new, kind of bright-eyed and bushy-tailed about things. So it's been a pleasure. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, Trellis. So before I let you go, I have to give you the last word. So that can be a song, that can be a poem, or just a simple shout out. Right now, the floor is yours.
I'd like to give a shout out to my team. I'd like to shout out the coaches. I appreciate what the season has been and what it will become. And I wish the best of luck to the remaining teams in the playoffs, even though that we're going to win. And go Adams. Adams up.
All right. And I know that you guys have a podcast over there, and I forget. I want to say it might have been Polly, or somebody was asking me to be on it. Whenever y'all are ready, just hit me up and I got you.
All right, that's David Ware does the podcast.
David Ware. I believe that was David, because I did have him on the show recently. And yeah, just tell David, if you talk to him before I do, that whenever he's ready, I'm ready.
Oh yeah, I'll have to have you after we win our championship.
Sounds fair. You're gonna be on my show, and I'll do yours too.
Oh, that's all that matters.
That's right, dear. Well, thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you very soon.
Likewise.
All right, have a good one.
Deuces.
All right, everybody, and I am back with another great friend of mine, my second Fourth and Goal interview. His name is Mr. Tim Hackett. He is our play-by-play analyst for the SFL. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Ashley. Thanks so much for having me.
You're very welcome, and I'm so glad to have you here, Mr. Broadcaster of the Year.
Jeez. Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. It's my first time on the show, so for real at least. So thank you for making it happen.
Anytime, my dear. Anytime. And I just want to say a big congratulations to you. When the members of the community choose you to have such a prestigious award, you know that you made an impact. So congratulations to you. I wanted to tell you that in person. You do a fantastic job. And every time.
Thank you.
100%.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I guess that's really all that I could ask for but like you said, the fact that this is something that other people voted for me means a lot. And I don't know. I mean, I never go into something like this. Is my favorite thing to do. I'll start with that. I absolutely love play-by-play. It's just a passion of mine, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to do it. I mean, honestly, and to do it in an awesome league like this, where the games are so much fun and the community is amazing. It doesn't really get any better than that. So thank you for the commendation, and I guess since I haven't said it publicly, thank you to everybody who voted for me this season and the last season. It really does mean a lot to me. So thank you.
Yeah, you did win it 2 times. Look at you.
I was not trying to flex. Like, look, I mean, I don't think I deserved it either season, to be honest with you. I was honored to be nominated my first year in the league. I was like, hey, all right, that's great. But I mean, frankly, I thought there were very many other deserving candidates both years. So, I mean, we can get into that if you really want. But a lot of folks here do an awesome job, and a lot of folks here are super plugged in to the community and know a ton about all the different teams, a lot of different players, the league itself. And I'm just trying to soak up some of that knowledge from my partners, from the other broadcasters in the league, from my teammates, from any other folks around the league I get to speak with, like yourself, to actually learn how it all works. Because I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, the first couple of weeks when I was in the minor leagues, starting out here as a broadcaster, the first couple of weeks of the first SFLm season, I had no idea what was going on. I mean, I've broadcasted football games before, but and so that, gave me a leg up in that sense, but I would not have known how to do things in this league or how things specifically work or any of the actual behind the scenes, the important things that make this league specific and special if it weren't for all the other people around me. So, I mean, I would have pulled some stuff off, I guess, but it really is a team effort. And I'm not just saying that because, I mean, we say this all the time, like the stats team, for example. I have called football games in my life where I don't have any stats, or if I'm going to do stats, I keep them myself. So I roughly track, catches, right? Like a receiver has 5 catches in this game. I do tally mark to track that. We actually have a stat team with us that can give us catches, receiving yards, yards per catch, tackles, intercept, all the, literally any stat, which is amazing and helps make our job so much easier and helps hopefully enrich the experience. So, I mean, that's just one example where it's like a total team effort, and I'm just one of the voices that you hear that goes along with it.
Hey, and it's all about your delivery. It's all about how well you engage with the community as being a broadcaster. And I think a lot of it has to do with your knowledge of the game and how it plays out as well. So it's a lot that goes into it, as well as everything else that you said, And you weren't flexing by mentioning that it was twice. I mean, I won the award 4 times for community ambassador technically. So hey, but it does mean a lot that the community views us as people that make a significant difference. And that is not to say that others don't, but I think it is how well you are involved in the community. Behind the scenes, when there are no games, do they see you? Are you in constant communication with people even after that? So all of that makes a difference. But we can get into that a little bit later if you thought that somebody else deserved it. Before that, let's get to know you. So give us your name, if Tim Hackett is not your real name, your age, your hometowns, interesting facts about yourself, and your favorite NFL team. Don't say the wrong team, Tim.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it may be the wrong, actually, I believe it might be the wrong answer for you, but unfortunately, the answer has kept me in the league before. So I'll just give you the heads up right there. All right, sure, yeah. My name is Tim Hackett. I'm 24 years old, just turned 24 a week ago, actually, and I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina, originally. Spent a few years in Chicago and Evanston specifically, where I went to college, and now I live south of Kansas City. And I mean, I don't know, some interesting things about me. I'm not that interesting. Let's see. Well, my go-to fun fact is it helped me develop some camaraderie with the other broadcasters. But I am colorblind partially, so that's a fun thing to deal with. I've been a big sports fan for about 15 years now, but kind of ironically, I didn't really grow up like as a kid a huge sports fan. Like, I have a lot of friends who played sports from when they were 5 or whatever, and that was a big part of their life forever. I grew up around it for sure, but it wasn't something that I was super into until I give the ballpark when I was 10 years old, and then I got super into just about everything, a lot of different aspects of it. So, I mean, I'm a journalist by trade. That's what my degree is in, and I've been fortunate enough to get a lot of different kinds of experience with that over the years. That's truly something that I'm extremely grateful for. And yeah, I mean, so the interesting things about fun facts about me, I guess, are that I love just about every sport. I think there's something enjoyable about just about everything aside from that. Big movie guy, and my favorite person in the world is my little sister, who means the world to me. So those are kind of the biggest things about me, I guess. Oh, and my favorite NFL team. Sorry, my favorite team is the Green Bay Packers. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think this interview might be over right now.
Over. I'm pulling the plug. Yeah.
I told you I've been kept in the league for a couple of reasons.
Yeah. Cam. But it's okay.
See this too, right?
Yeah, he's a Green Bay Packers. I mean, it's actually a lot of Green Bay Packers fans that are in the league.
I was surprised by that.
Really?
Well, I mean, sort of. I mean, they're everywhere, right? But yeah.
Wait, how did you go to school in Chicago? And you're a Green Bay fan. How does that work?
It was difficult, that's for sure. It happens that I'm from North Carolina, but
right.
My dad's family are Midwesterners originally. My parents were both born in New York, but my dad's family have been longtime Packer fans, even though ironically his mother is from Michigan and his father's from Minnesota, but even still they ended up Packer fans. So my grandfather was a huge Packer fan, and about 70% of my dad's side of the family are Packer fans. So that got passed down to me for sure. And I've split from my dad on some things, which he is not happy about, but that is something that he has passed along to me for better or for worse.
Well, we all make mistakes.
Exactly.
But that's okay. I'll let you
Sorry about it.
I'll let you slide on this. I'll let you slide this time, but
It's not the worst thing about me, I guess.
But tell me, Tim, how did you find us in the first place? Who brought you here, or how did you just stumble upon the league?
The league, yeah. I mean, it's a slightly long story, but frankly, it all comes back to my mom, who has been pretty much my biggest supporter since I got into this whole thing. I was a freshman at Northwestern when I went to college in the North Chicagoville, and I started doing a couple of different things on air. Like, we had a TV station there, not like an actual TV station, right? But we did like a 30-minute sports highlight show every week. Was our show, and so I was on that a couple of times as a guest analyst to talk about different sports on campus or whatever. And my mom, to her credit, like always shares my stuff or whatever, and embarrasses me, but she happened to be up near there at one point at a work meeting in Naperville, like a town or two over, and she met just a couple of colleagues that she had never met before, got to talking with some of them, and said, hey, my son is a sports broadcaster, and here's some of the stuff that he has done. So literally that was around the turn of we did quarters at Northwestern, but it was around the turn of the semester, so like sometime in January, February. So I'd only been there for a couple months, and one of the guys that she met was Mike Proto, who works with her, and they got to talking, and she shared some of my stuff with him, and literally, so that was around the turn of the year 2016, and literally about 4.5 years later, he gets in touch with me and says, "Hey, I remember meeting your mom. We worked together. So they still work for the same company, different divisions or whatever, but I met your mom, and I remember her telling me that you were a sports broadcaster, and I followed you for the last couple of years, and I think that there is a place for you that I'm a part of that you might be interested in learning more about." So I had a couple of conversations with him in April. He introduced me to Shan Varner, and really, I was super interested. That was really, April 2020, that was really about when everything had shut down, nation and worldwide. So I was looking for things to do, especially around sports. And this was just a tremendous opportunity, speaking selfishly, to actually get out there and do something, to actually continue to call games, to see some other things, to meet some new people, to learn about some other, things that exist in the world that I frankly had never heard about before. And so I said, sure, I'll look at it, I'll give it a shot, I'll see what it's about. And totally honest with you, I loved it. Like I said, the first couple of weeks were weird. I had no idea what was going on. I think just about everybody kind of feels the same way, right? But after the first couple of weeks of that minor league season, I'm thinking, this is actually really interesting. And like I said right at the top, we got to meet a lot of people. Mike introduced me to Andy Hamilton, and he gave us a lot of great context and insight about the league. We met loads of folks along the way. Like, he met pretty much all the minor league coaches, and we met a bunch of players in that minor league season, just learning about who these people are and what the league is. And I was really, I really enjoyed it. So I've said it before, but the only reason that I am here in the SFL is because of him, and I'm very grateful to him for that. He was a really good friend to me last year, so I'm really grateful to him for that.
Have you spoken to Mikey since he left?
I haven't talked to him a lot recently, no, but I have talked. The actual answer is yes, I have talked to him since he left, but I haven't talked to him super recently, no.
Okay. Everything all right with him?
Last I talked to him, yeah.
I will say that Mikey had one of the most iconic voices for broadcasting. I know when you two used to call the games together, it was like kind of perfect balance. And I think that Mike Daggs does a really good job of pairing you guys up, because you got to have that balance, right? You got to have somebody that's the lively one, getting everybody into it, and then you have the one that kind of comes in and kind of just like pulls everything down this time. So y'all are very good at that.
Fire and ice, right?
That's it. And you do have to have that balance, in order to, I think, to have an entertaining broadcast. Because we're all watching the game. You can just turn on the game sound and just let those commentators do it. But you guys gave a different dynamic. And even with adding broadcasters to the game itself, I think that's one of the things that draws people in, is hearing your voices out there actually calling these games. And when you do have those knowledgeable, those iconic voices that are different, they stand out. So I did like that a lot.
I enjoyed working with him. Frankly, I was on a college radio team for 4 years, so I called a bunch of games in college. That's, like I said, it's my passion, and I've done it for a long time, and I wouldn't trade any of that for anything. It's my favorite thing to do. But frankly, he was my longest tenured partner ever, because for that, for games like that, I worked with a bunch of the same guys for a while, being there for 4 years. But in terms of if I actually go back and catalog every single game, every single broadcast that I've ever done, and who was my partner for that broadcast or whatever, then he's my number one partner. So you look at other NFL teams that have, I think Joe Buck and Troy Aikman have been together, I want to say like 16 seasons now or something like that, in that ballpark. So how many games have they done together, type of deal. So Mike is my longest tenured partner, just being together for a full minor league season and a full pro season, and so yeah, I mean, we really got to develop a camaraderie and a chemistry that I've not really gotten to experience with anybody before. Again, just speaking selfishly as a broadcaster, to say nothing of anything else, it was awesome to work with anybody for that long period of time, but especially somebody who I got to consider to be a friend, and moreover, somebody who knew the league and was so passionate about the league. And that is what, I mean, I will stump for about him forever, is that, and that was what one of the things at least that he brought to our games, besides an immense knowledge and an insane level of research that I hope other people were able to pick up on, but just his passion for everything that we were doing was just awesome. And not to say that other people don't have that by any means, but that was what I loved the most. And he kept me going. He kept me energized and kept me motivated and interested to keep going too.
Which is important, because you guys are literally the voice. Yeah, and so it's when you're paired with somebody for that long, I think it's a good thing to have a partner, because you guys know each other. You know your nuances, where you have that pause, you'll be able to slide in exactly where your cadence, I should say, which is very important. So there is no dead air, or very little dead air. You know, you guys kind of know each other, what you will say once you see a touchdown. Like, for instance, Damon Simeons, he loves saying, you know, his classic, what is it, downtown?
Like for a touchdown? For a touchdown. What, Hollywood Boulevard? Or that's his thing, right?
That's what it was. Hollywood Boulevard.
He was one of the first guys that I heard call a game here. It must have been a playoff game, and I was like, this is awesome.
You know, for me, it was Andy and Cam.
Yeah.
It was a championship game between Tallahassee and Florida. Elastic Storm at the time. And I heard those guys, and Joshua Williams was the one that actually said, hey, I'm a part of this league, I think you should check it out. So I went and checked it out, and I was like, all right, this game is cool. But who is this on the mic right now? They are amazing, you know? And
those two guys they're two of the best we have. I love them all.
Yes. And so we have some really, really talented people here. And like you said, this is kind of a way for you to hone in on your craft too, because where else would you be able to be a broadcaster without having to go to school and pay for it, like absorbing an amounts, at least practice that craft, or being a statistician, or writing articles, you know, learning how to do that firsthand versus taking a class that's going to cost you thousands of dollars to do it, you know?
Absolutely.
It's pretty good.
I 100% agree. And I mean, I frankly couldn't agree with you anymore, because that is, I think, the most important part about it is that, and actually this is what I kind of try to teach some of my students this year, is that, you know, for journalism, yes, but for just about anything in life, I kind of preach like a 3-step process. You have to, one of the steps of the process is you have to get out there and do it. Because I think, you know, sitting there learning about something and hearing about it or whatever is valuable and can be super valuable, but it's never going to be as valuable as getting out there and doing it. And that's always what I was taught, you know. So like, if you're going to learn about being a reporter, you got to get out there and report. So you can't throw somebody completely, you know, to the wolves without having any sort of backing and understanding. But at some point, that only gets you so far. And so I completely agree with you that what is awesome about this league is that there are all of those folks that have this as an opportunity to actually try something like this perhaps for the first time ever, which is awesome. And that should be what we encourage, not me and we like the people in the league. I mean everybody. We should encourage that. And this is an opportunity for people to learn and grow and get better, because that is how you get better. That's what I say too. I mean, that's why one of the reasons, like I said, that I even wanted to join the league in the first place is I said it would give me another opportunity to call games and learn things and meet people and see how things work, because you get stagnant, I guess. And that's why I will never, you know, sometimes some weeks are harder than others, right, to fit a game in, but I'm like, if I can do it, I will, because it's just like actually being an athlete where you're supposed to, you know, not take a rep off, and every game and every practice is an opportunity to physically get better. That's always the teaching. And I believe that to be true. And so I have to take that same approach. Every game is an opportunity to get better. And I can learn from anything. So I go back and watch my old games. I realize that sounds self-centered out of context, but it's to see what went well. Exactly. It's just a film study. It's just like being the athlete, where you go back and say, all right, what happened in this game? Why did we not, for a defense, why did we make this read? Why did we not make this adjustment? Why did we not, fix this gap on the offensive line or whatever? You have to see it, and then you can learn from it. So I'm seeing and hearing, right? So it's almost like, what did I do well? If anything, what went poorly? What should I fix going forward? I hate it. I hate going back and listening to it. I really do. But I've gotten to learn to appreciate it because it's another part of the process. You have to get better, and you have to get feedback and stuff like that.
You do. I remember trying out I remember talking to my dad in game chat one day and saying that I wanted to be a broadcaster. I wanted to try it. Now, this is before he did the practices the way he does now, kind of like a tryout. So he was like, oh, you want to do it? All right, cool, going out there. Okay. So I had a game. It was St. Louis taking on Vancouver. I want to say it was either season 13 or season 14. One of them. That's a gem if y'all want to try to go find it. But I listened to that and it's like a cringe-worthy moment because I'm like, I don't know why I was so nervous. I had EK Vincent with me and we were doing good until my parsec decided that it wanted to stop working. So I had to listen to him do play-by-play and then kind of ad-lib.
That's awesome. You know how difficult that is?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So I'm listening to him and, oh yeah, he got this touchdown, wonderful. And I'm hoping that he tells me the players so I can kind of elaborate on that. So it is a great experience. And I did promise Mike that I would get back into it, once I had a secondary computer, which I do now. So technically, I guess I have to.
Oh, it's on the record now.
It is. But it is a wonderful experience. And anybody that's looking to try it, just do it. Like I keep telling you guys, I think that's going to be my mantra for this season or for this year, period, is to just do it. You never know what you're truly capable of unless you really try. And if it doesn't work out, cool. At least you know that it's not for you. But you don't want to spend your life wondering, what happens if I would have did it this way, But speaking of players on the field, why aren't you one? Why don't you have a player out there?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I do. I do, but I don't make like a huge deal out of it or whatever. But I joined the league as a player my first year as a broadcaster. Just kind of, I'm not, trying to say I was being sneaky about it, but it's just like we don't have the same player name or anything like that. So, but yeah, I do actually have a player in the league.
Who is it? Because I've been here this whole time and I didn't know that.
I'll out myself for good. Well, his name is Jack Hacksaw.
Okay.
Linebacker for the LA Lycans.
I should have known that.
No, that's my other fun fact, I guess. It's not really that fun, so I didn't include it earlier. But that was, it's no secret. That was my nickname in high school. Story, there's a couple of stories behind it, but that was a nickname that I was given, was Hacksaw. And so my friends call me that type of deal, yeah, so that's my player name. I didn't care to have my name out there or whatever, and so I joined the league as, definitely not as a favor, because they did me a favor by giving me a spot, but so let me rephrase. Shan gave me like a path to join the league. And he said he wanted me on his team. And then, so I was thrilled to be on the team with Mike and Shan, who were the only two people in the league that I knew at the time, and went from there. And so then Rochelle and Tom were gracious enough to take on all of us ex-Wildcats over the off season, as you know. And so, a number of us stuck around for this past season 16, in LA. And even though, obviously a lot of folks are not here anymore, a lot of us stuck around. And I mean, I'm super grateful to Tom and Ray for that. Those two are awesome. And I don't want to speak outright for the rest of us, but I know a lot of us feel the same way, that we're grateful to have a home. Now, I know a lot of other, ex-Chicago folks found homes elsewhere, which is, awesome. I fully support that, obviously. And we would have been able to find a home somewhere, I'm sure, but they gave us a home together. And that was what a lot of us were grateful for. And a lot of that credit goes to Mike for facilitating that, but a lot of it goes to Tom and Ray for even considering welcoming us, and Sully as well, and all the other folks. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun out there this year, for sure. And I got to meet, the whole point was I got to meet some new people. And even though I didn't get to be part of, the whole season this year, is only around for about half the year because of, things going on with me personally and with my work and whatever. But I've told them before, but I'm more than happy to say it out loud that I'm super grateful to the two of them for giving us all the option to stick together. And I know a lot of us really appreciated that.
Absolutely. I think that's important too. But I kind of look at everybody as like a big family anyway. We're just wearing different jerseys.
Yeah.
But as far as the community, like when I tell you I check on pretty much everybody, I do. And even though I am wearing the Scorpions uniform, I still feel like I'm a part of everybody's team, and in some form or fashion. And that's just from the family kind of oriented environment that we have here. And it's really weird to say that about a community that's online, because you never know who you're going to get.
No, true.
What kind of crazies are going to be around. But I think we're lucky to have a place like that where people are forgiving, where people are interested in keeping what really keeps us here, which is the community, in the forefront, because things happen, teams fold, things happen all the time. People retire all the time, but then they find themselves right back here. Why? Because of the community.
Sure, definitely.
So.
And I think,
I
think you bring up I was just gonna say, I think you bring up a great point, that it's like, even though we're all on different teams or whatever, what's different from, a professional sports league is that we're not competing against each other. We're all in it the way I see it is that all of the different people that make up the league are all in it for the same thing. Like, if you look at the NFL, which we've already talked about in the show, that like the owners are all in for the same thing. Like, they all aim to advance the league, and so everybody's like united in some common goals league wide, for sure. But there's competition, and people are being paid more than others. And if somebody's being paid, then that means there's less money available for other people. I think that's fair to say. But that obviously isn't the case here, because the players are values, and your player is worth more than my player or whatever, but that doesn't mean anything. And it doesn't mean that, you take away a spot from somebody else. We all have spaces in the league. And that's why I think we all work together, is that everybody matters. And, my guy was on the field for, whatever percentage of the snaps this year, but I don't care. I don't have an incentive in my contract where I have to play 80% of the snaps, like maybe a linebacker in the NFL would. So right. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care if I am the defensive player of the year or if I only play half the time, because it doesn't matter. What matters to me is being there and being part of this group. So I told Shan that from the get-go. He's like, all right, I might have. And he was super honest with me at the start, and I won't, say everything, but he's like, I have a couple of spaces that I might have open, this coming season. What position do you want to play? And I said, I don't, want this to sound like I'm not interested, but I don't care. Put me wherever. Like, if I'm happy. Exactly. So, I was like, look, I was a quarterback growing up as a kid, wasn't super great, but like I was a middle school quarterback is what I like to say. It's my athletic claim to fame. So I was like, I would love to be a quarterback. Sure. But everybody, lots of people will go and say, I would love to be the quarterback. And I was like, I don't need to, like if I need to be the second string tight end, that's fine. I played offensive line for a minute in high school. So I was like, if you want me to play offensive line, I'll do it. That sounds like fun. like I was super happy to be a linebacker this year because that's my favorite position on the defense. So it's like, if you want me to be a linebacker, that's fine. So I started as a safety. I was like, if I had to pick, I wouldn't pick safety as like the position I want to be, but I don't care. Like, I got a spot on the team, and that was all I really cared about. So I was like, I'll go wherever. And I've told Tom and Ray that too. Like, put me wherever. If you need to move me around, if you need to, cut some value off me to make room for some other people. Like Buddy Blaze was one of the best linebackers in the league this past year. I'm not saying because of anything I did, sure as heck not, right? But that's because everybody was so focused on me that they had to run the other way. But I was like, I don't care. That's fine with me because I'm just happy to be here. It sounds trite, but that is truly what I feel about this league. Is that I'm happy to be here, and I'm grateful to have been a part of it.
No, it doesn't sound trite. I mean, everybody's experience is different. Everybody came in, whether it was through a friend or just, scrolling around on the tube one day, happened to hear Sioux Falls Sparrows, and like, oh, what is that? Or you might hear a commentator's voice and like, oh my gosh, what are they doing over here?
For better or for worse.
Yes, exactly. And so I think that that's amazing. And I, just being a part of this league it offers more than just being a player on the field, which you can't find in other esports communities. You're just there to watch the game. But with this, it does offer something more. So, but tell me, do you have any aspects to perhaps be an owner yourself one day, or maybe do some scouting or anything of that nature?
I don't know, honestly. I think it sounds I think it would be interesting. I would love to learn more, and everybody that I've been a part of, every team that I've been a part of, all two of them have, given me some cool insight as to, how teams run or whatever. No, but I mean, totally honest with you, that's not something that that's not a path that I've charted for myself necessarily. But I mean, I wouldn't turn it down, I guess, but it's definitely not something that I'm looking at.
Hey, no worries. I mean, you never know what the future holds. You might, want to expand your horizons one day. So, that was just kind of a curious question if you wanted to do something like that, because you're so heavily involved with the stats and things like that. So, yeah.
I mean, I think it's awesome that people are, what I think is cool is that, and I know I like to tread, I always want to tread carefully, but I think Cam and I have had enough conversations that he knows that I never mean any offense when I say this. Since the teams aren't real, meaning they aren't like physically grounded anywhere, right? Like the Green Bay Packers, you know what I mean? Like they can be anywhere. So that's why we have a team in London, right? And there's no travel costs involved, except for if Liam has to get over here for some reason, right? But anyway, my point is that like a team can be anywhere, and more importantly, they can mean something to anybody. So that's what I think is cool. So I mean, our folks in LA made certain parts about, certain things about the team because it meant something to them. It's their team. You have that. It's just like you're building a team in a video game, right? Like you have creative license to do whatever, name people however you want, with mean something to you, whatever the case may be. So that's what I think is super awesome about this league. And that was one of the things that Mike did an amazing job of showcasing in last season, or season 15 now, is like, here are the people behind the players, what I always like to say, because like I said, my player name is not me, doesn't have a super, wide ranging story to it. It's something about me that isn't me, but like, folks have named their player after, as I'm sure, as you know better than me, you've told a lot of these stories yourself, that like, you name your player after somebody that means something to you, or is like as a reference or a callback to something. That's amazing. Because like, you're not going to do that as a professional athlete, right? Which is obviously not, right? Obviously not, and that's fine. But like this league, you can do anything. So you name your stadium after somebody that is important to you, that some owners have done. Name your player after somebody that is important to you. Craft your team image, likeness, or whatever around a cause or a concept that's important to you. So yeah, to your point, like that's what I think is awesome about a lot of the owners in this league, is they can put a team anywhere. It doesn't matter, and that's not to trivialize it. It's just to say that the options are endless, because you can't put an NFL team anywhere. Teams have people have tried, right? And it doesn't work. So, but you can have an SFL team anywhere. That community can be born of anything. And that's what I think is super unique.
Wonderful. And so tell me, you did win the Richard Pratchett Broadcaster of the Year Award. Who do you think should have gotten it? Because I know you kind of alluded to that earlier. You know, who do you think should have had that chance?
Well, I'll say that I think there are loads of deserving candidates, and if I, leave a name out, I don't necessarily mean any offense by that, because I think but I'll stop tiptoeing around it and say, I mean, I stumped for Mike and Proto my first year, any chance I could get, because first of all, we did every game together. I think he actually did a couple more games than me, if you just want to go by man hours worked, because he did the All-Star game with Cam. They left me out of that. Just kidding. So he did more in that sense than I did. And also he did so much more behind the scenes than I ever did that season. Like, he put together all of this research. Now, I mean, I won't lie to you. I spend my time doing all my research and putting things together. And I think, I've got some stuff lying around here, but like the last time I was on your show virtually, I showed one of these, like I make my spot charts for every game or whatever. So like I put all this stuff together, right? But he put all the behind the scenes stuff together. And if it was just me with names and stats and whatever, that would have, done something, but he fleshed out the whole experience. And he was the one who got to know all these folks around the league, like yourself, and all the other owners and coaches or whatever, to give us some of that insight.
Duly noted. Is there someone this year that you think probably should have gotten it?
I think there were loads of people. I mean, I was frankly, again, like, I'm super honored and grateful that people will even consider me for something like this, but I was only around for half the season, and I knew that was going to be the case, because I mean, I told Mike Daggs this at the start, but I was like, look, man, I'm going to be working pretty much every day for about 3 months straight, so I'm not really going to have time to call a game, because people think you can step in, talk about it for 2 hours and be done, but I personally can't do that. Like, I have to have these notes that I was just showing and things like that. Like, I have to have some sort of context, otherwise I feel lost, and I feel like I wouldn't be able to do a decent job. So I can't just jump in for 2 hours and leave. Like, I have to put some time in I have to put the work in ahead of time. I wouldn't feel like I would be doing my best otherwise. I don't have the time this week. So other folks were there every week, and more importantly, I thought other folks were there not only just being there, but some folks were there multiple times a week, which is incredible. It's very hard to double up, especially to go back to back. Pro broadcasters do it, but it's not easy for pro broadcasters to do either. I like to be able to channel everything into one game, so that in theory you can maximize what you know about those two teams. Bringing in 2 more teams is double the work, right? So it's not hard work, right? Don't get me wrong. It's not manual labor, but like, it's still double the work.
It's a lot of prep. It really is.
So they were great. They were nice enough to let me do 2 playoff games this year. So that was a back-to-back. It was a double header. I did 2 games on the same day. It's not something that I've done a lot, in my career, if you will. So it was twice the prep. It was amazing and I loved it, but it was, twice the work that went into it. And a lot of folks in this league, like Andy Hamilton and Tyler Falk specifically, they did 2 games a week, sometimes even 3, like routinely. Because especially, I mean, it's not to bring everything back to me, but like, I wasn't there. So that meant we needed to have another play-by-play broadcaster that week. And those are 2 of the guys that stepped up all the time to like fill in an extra spot. And not because like, all right, and they didn't go like, all right, well, guess I have to. And they did it because they wanted to, and because they love doing this too. And they're pretty darn good at it as well. So, I mean, I give those 2 guys specifically, and I know I'm forgetting some other folks, I guess, but just from the play-by-play side of things that stepped up. And well, I mean, those 2 guys do analyst work too, but I lost track of how many games they did. Mike gave us a readout at the end of the year, but I forget how many games those 2 guys did. But those 2 guys, I mean, I loved working with Stephen Molinax this year. I think he's awesome. He's got that just kind of quiet knowledge about himself, which I think is amazing. And I mean, Michael Cirillo has been at this for a long time. He's one of the best that we have in this league. He's a true play-by-play broadcaster. And then I got to work with Eric and Cade this year. I think I love them as a team. I've said this before, but like I love them as a team and as a duo because of how well they work together. And yeah, they're silly or whatever, but that's what they do, and they're awesome at it. And I like listening to them call games, even though those poor guys have had a lot of blowouts to call over the last couple of years, it seems, as I'm sure they would be the first to attest to. It's hard to call a 40-point deficit, but they do it well.
All right, Tim. So I got a couple more questions for you, my dear.
Sounds
How
good.
did you deal with the COVID situation? Because everybody has their own different story about how they dealt with the situation and whom it affected in their family, whether it affected them personally or whether they affected somebody they knew. How did you deal with it?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's on top of everybody's minds for sure because it has affected literally everybody, whether they know it or not. And so, I mean, for me specifically, so my first year out of college, I graduated in June 2019, and for the next few months, I was working a bunch of different things back home in North Carolina. At my peak, I had 4 part-time jobs, all in sports some way or another, which I was super grateful for because that was what I had always wanted, was to work in sports somehow. Well, specifically as a sports, media person or as a broadcaster, but I was getting to work in sports somehow. So I had 4 part-time jobs. I was living at home in North Carolina and just trying to, put things together and look for something more permanent that I could, actually do and do some of these things, alongside it to, kind of augment it. But that was proven pretty difficult. And then what made things even more difficult is the pandemic hit, and that's extremely self-centered way of looking at it for sure. But that, for me, not just for me, but for loads of other people, not just my age, but especially I think for my age, that kind of dried up a lot of things. A lot of job prospects went out the window, I think, for everybody, no question. And I think a lot, especially for recent college grads. So that made things difficult for sure. And so we were just kind of at home trying to figure out what to do, what was going on first and foremost, but then, how to navigate. And for a couple of different reasons, I kind of got to a point where I realized I needed to try something new. And I started looking in earnest for jobs outside of North Carolina because, I didn't say this outright, but once the pandemic hit, I was at 4 part-time jobs in February, and a month later in March, I was down to 0 pretty much because everything I had was in sports and there were no sports being played anymore. So really, the SFL helped get me through because I met Mike in Proto in April of that year, and then the minor leagues, I think, started in May. And so May and June of that year was that first minor league season 1. And Mike and I did the championship game for that minor league season in late June. And then it kind of all might have all been in the same week as I recall, but that I think was on a Friday night or a Saturday night. And earlier that week, I'm pretty sure that Tuesday, I confirmed I got a job offer, basically. So it kind of all came to there, and that was a couple of weeks. My birthday's in June. That was all a couple of weeks after my birthday. So, and then a couple of weeks after the championship game, I moved out here to Kansas City, and I'm coming up on a year. It's been around about 11 months this week. So, and because I remember that specifically because that first full week that I was here in Kansas City was the first week of SFL season 15. So I just so happened to be up and running in time to be here physically where I'm sitting right now. And we did week 1 of that season, our first SFL pro game, Queen City in Florida. That was, literally I was right where I am right now. First week of that. So it was kind of a whirlwind, and I've been fortunate personally to be out here. I work at a university here in Kansas City called Avila University, and we have all had to navigate this ourselves. I work in the athletics department, so it has been, we could talk for another half hour about this if you really wanted to, but the short answer is how we have navigated the whole COVID situation has been a struggle for everybody. And that's just a very cavalier way of looking at it because it's not like just so like, oh yeah, it's a hurdle we got to get over. This is a super serious thing and people have died. and I don't want to lose sight of that. Like, hello, it's bad, man.
Serious.
So I try to not be so cavalier about it, but it's just like, it was an adventure for everybody. And I mean, fast forward a long ways, but I'm glad that because of many factors, institutionally and nationwide, we have, I think, started to pretty much round a corner, I think, as a society. And I'm super grateful for that. We have a long ways to go. And, you know, our university specifically, and, you know, the region needs to do a better job at a lot of things, if you ask me, but we have come a super long way, and I'm grateful for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you did mention earlier that you had a birthday recently, and happy belated to you.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
My birthday is actually on the 26th of June.
Oh, for real? Well, happy early birthday to you then.
Thank you. It's a lot of good people born in June. What can I say?
Apparently, like, I found out this because this is, it's too bad for the commish, because this poor guy, he and I are similar in a lot of ways, unfortunately for him. And one of the similarities is, so we already talked about our football team affiliations. This job title that I have right now is one that he had for quite a while, and he's been able to give me some good insight about that. And obviously, we both love sports and doing play-by-play and things like that, but we also have the same birthday. Now he's a few years older than me, but we were born on the same day. So it was kind of, yeah, when we found out that last year, then I was telling my family, I was like, yeah, and he's a Packer fan too. So
that's crazy.
Poor guy.
That is. You truly, that's why you've been saved so many times.
Yes, yes, it is. And I was like, yeah, this might be my last game around here. No, we'll give you early June guy an extra life. It's a video game after all.
That's good. So both of you are Geminis. That explains why he's great one minute and crazy the next. So that makes sense. But last question for you. By June the 12th of 2022, what is either one goal or a couple of goals that you want to have accomplished in SFL and in real life?
That's an awesome question.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's a really, really good question. I'll stall for time by saying that what's been hard for me is that, like, in my position, I haven't really been able to think super far ahead. We kind of, because of everything going on, and again, I work in the athletic department here, which is, it's a really good job, something that I've been looking for. So I'm super grateful, to be in this position. Don't get me wrong, but anybody can attest to that. That I work with is like, we have so many things to accomplish on a given day that, people, I've talked to people like, hey, what are you doing this summer? I'm like, I have no idea. I have to get through today first. I have to get through this week first, because there are just so many things. And more importantly, talk about the virus situation. Things can change at any given moment, especially last semester, where we thought we had, a certain game on a certain day, then all of a sudden we don't. And then maybe we move that game to next week. And so now all of a sudden we have, multiple things going on. So, everything was super fluid, even more so than normal in college athletics. And again, that's fine, because most of our, student body and personnel have been mostly okay, to my knowledge, throughout all of this. And that is what, obviously, first and foremost, we're hoping for. We were able to get through all of our seasons. Not, that sounds like you're just trying to make it through. But this year at times, yeah, right.
We were.
There's really, I can't really sugarcoat it. Times we were just trying to make it through, but everybody was, right? And everybody understands that like, we're just like, not like, all right, that's cool, let's play these games and get this season out the window. It was kind of like that, but it was just because of all the difficulties that everybody went through, just making those seasons happen. So that was me stalling for time. And because I think, this time next year, when I get through another year in this position, at my university, I think we will actually have been able to move some things forward, because for me, it's just like being a head coach, I guess. Not every head coach gets this pass, which is annoying, but the common sentiment is that if you're a head coach of a sports team, college or pro, like, your first year is really kind of year zero. like you're kind of, especially if you're a first-time head coach of something, like there aren't super high expectations, or there shouldn't be super high expectations unless, you know, you're taking over a team that just won the championship and has everybody back or whatever. But there aren't typically high expectations placed on folks like that. It's called like a year zero. And I think that for me, that a lot of, and like for my boss, our athletic director, Sean Sumi, and for a lot of other folks here, they kind of gave me that grace period this year as a first-time sports information director, this is my first ever year in this role, on top of navigating all this other, you know, stuff that we've had to work with societally and internationally over the past, 15 months or so. It was kind of a year zero for me, and I had to pick up just about everything as I went along, and I got some help along the way from a lot of people, but still had to learn and execute all this myself. So I think my personal professional goal is to get better at everything. It's, that's first and foremost, right? But now that I kind of somewhat understand some of the things that I'm doing and am expected to do, my goal, and I think everybody's goal, is for me to be able to do that at a higher level consistently over the course of the rest of the year, because for a while there this year was catch as catch can for everybody, because I was still learning everything. I had not done a lot of these things before, and so just like a first year head coach, I had to pick up a lot of stuff on the fly, learn a lot of stuff on the job, and it's my hope that as I progress through this year, that I get better at all of that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of different things to manage. I teach as well, so I have to, learn how to balance that, and kind of working in a couple of different departments and working for a couple of different supervisors at once can be difficult to manage, as many people that are watching, listening to this know. So I just want to improve is really all that it boils down to. And then when it comes to the SFL, I mean it's the same thing, right? But I want to actually, now that I actually have hopefully some more time this upcoming season, where I didn't have to just jump in and do my prep work for a couple of hours and then call the game, my hope is to actually get to know some people around the league a little bit more, because I haven't been able to do a good job of that. And that is what Mike did a fantastic job of our first season. And that's why I love working with Stephen Mullinax this season, is because he already knows all these people. He's got these connections and this experience and this know-how that is unparalleled. That's why I loved working with him. I think he's a really good dude, and that's why I thought he was a good partner. But my goal for myself in the SFL this year is to actually meet some more people. And, we'll bring in some new faces to LA, so that'll be easy there. But just around the league, I hope to be more active and to actually meet some people and learn how this league works a little bit more than I do.
Hey, absolutely. And it's not hard. Going out in general chat, saying hi, will get you a whole bunch of hellos. And like I'd like to do the wellness checks on people. Like I just pick people and just say, hey, how is your day? What's going on? And I think I've said this before, where you never know what just a simple hello could do for somebody, And I think people will be less apprehensive about coming to you for certain things once you come out and just say, hey, just kind of talk to people and just say, hey, I'm here for your meeting thing. Then all of a sudden, I will tell you, by doing that though, you're gonna wake up to about 100 DMs. So be ready. But it'll all be worth it in the end, Tim. And it is a pleasure to have you on the show. You are definitely invited to come back anytime that you want to, whether we're discussing SFL. I also do mental health podcasts as well. If you want to come back and, give your thoughts on that, you're more than welcome to.
Sure, I would love to. Ashley, thank you so much for having me. And you started off by giving me a commendation for my award, and I was grateful for that. But I just want to say as well, congratulations to you, and thank you for all that you have done and continue to do for the league, and more importantly for the people in it, because I really don't think that there is a more let me give you two sides of it. I don't think there is a more visible person in this league than you. Everybody knows who you are. And on the other side of it, I don't think there's a more approachable person in this league because of what you just outlined, because everybody knows who you are and you just made yourself available to people, even just on a fundamental level. I think that really matters to a lot of people, and nobody does that like you do. So thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you, Tim. That means a lot. And really, just that's how I've always been. That's so the way I act in my normal life is the exact same way I do here. So
I believe it.
I appreciate that. But I cannot let you go, Tim, without giving you the last word. So that can be a song. That can be a poem. That can be a song. That can be a poem, but just a simple shout out. But right now, Tim, the floor is yours.
All right. I definitely won't. I mean, I'm not going to sing for anybody. That's for sure. No one wants to hear that. I don't know. I mean, I got to see my mom and my sister here in Kansas City last week. They made the trip out here to come out here for my birthday for a couple of days. It's a long drive from Raleigh, and I'm just super grateful to everybody in my family, but especially for the two of them for continuing to be supportive of me. Like I said off the top, my little sister is my favorite person in the world, and wouldn't be who I am without her. I've been here on the earth for 5 years longer than she has, but doesn't matter. My life was made better for having her in it. And through all of, some of the issues that we've had over the years, I'm grateful to both of my parents. I would not be physically here where I am right now without their support. And I hope they both know that. And for everybody else that's in our lives at this point, I'm grateful to them for everything that they have done and for accepting all of us, even when they did not have to. So for all of them specifically, I'm grateful. I don't have a lot besides them at times, and I'm grateful to them for being in my life. So thank you to all of you, and thank you to everybody in the SFL who has welcomed me. I'm grateful. It's not always been perfect here either by any means, and I'm sorry for that, but anybody who has talked with me off air, anybody who has had conversations with me, constructive or positive, I'm grateful for that, because that's all that I want. So thank you for listening. To anybody who might have voted for me for this award, thank you. It means a ton. Never really been given any awards like that before in my life, so it really does mean a lot to me. And to you, Ashley, thank you for having me on the show and for just chatting with me. Really do appreciate that. I really enjoyed it.
Anytime. And pleasure was all mine. And I think when you do shows like this, where you can kind of just relax and really be yourself, people that may have thought one way about you because they just didn't know, they have a whole nother understanding. So that's the reason why I do these type of shows and just kind of get the person behind the player out there, or behind the broadcaster or behind the statistician, because we're all avatars on the field. We're actually all avatars in life, but I think it's the personality that you want to, that who you are as a person, when it comes out, then people will be more, more apt to, I guess, just communicate with you, things like that. So I think that this is going to be very good for you, Tim. And if you need some help, man, I'm here for you. DM's always open. If you ever need somebody to talk to and things like that, I'm here for you. Okay.
Thank you. Right back at you. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. I'll see you around. All right, everybody, and that is it. I want to thank you so much for joining Isaiah and I tonight. We really appreciate you. A special thanks goes out to Trellis Blankton, Tim Hackett, and Don Fletcher for being on the show. And of course, very, very special thanks goes out to you again, Isaiah, for being on, making time for me. You got any last words before we start?
Just want to thank you for having me again. I love being on this show. It's always great. And, good luck to everybody this week, and good luck to the GMs and the owners over the next couple of weeks.
Sounds good, man. And like I said, I'm gonna be watching those games very closely. Come back on if y'all win, man. Because they are, I know Trellis was saying that they're gonna take the whole championship. So only people that can stop them. But all right, man. Looking forward to seeing y'all on the field, and I'm looking forward to bringing you another great podcast next week. But until then, y'all, stay safe, treat each other well. Isaiah and Stryker out.